Weather and climate. Weather patterns. When we mention the word weather, we are talking about an atmosphere condition along with short-term changes of a certain place at a certain time. If you've ever been walking on a sunny day and then all of a sudden find yourself caught in a rainstorm, well, you know that weather can sometimes change very quickly. Sometimes it can change in just a few hours, and other times you might have the same weather conditions for several days in a row. Well, temperature and precipitation are just two of the variables used to describe weather. There are other conditions as well, such as air pressure, wind speed and direction, humidity, and cloud coverage. Weather is often associated with pressure systems, and remember that air pressure is the weight of all the molecules in the air. Cool air molecules are closer together than warmer air molecules, so therefore cool air has higher pressure than warm air. A high pressure system, as depicted on the right side of this image, is a large body of circulating air with high pressure at its center and low pressure outside the system. Because dense air sinks, it moves away from the center to areas of low pressure. High pressure systems bring sunny skies and fair weather. Low pressure systems, such as the one on the left side of this image, have low pressure at its center and higher pressure outside the system. Air inside the low pressure system will rise, cooling and condensing, thereby forming clouds and sometimes precipitation such as rain or snow. Now, if you've ever noticed that weather sometimes stays the same for several days in a row, for example, warm, sunny skies in the summer, or extremely cold temperatures with snow in the winter, well, this is due to air masses, which are large bodies of air that have uniform temperature, humidity, and pressure. Air masses form when large, high-pressure systems kind of sit over an area for several days. Air masses are classified by their temperature and moisture. Air masses that form over land are referred to as continental air masses, and those that are formed over water are referred to as maritime masses. Warm air masses that form in the equatorial regions are called tropical, and those that form in cold regions are called polar. Air masses can change as they move over the land and ocean. Warm, moist air can move over land and become cool and dry, just as cold and dry air can move over water and become moist and warm. Recall that there are major wind belts, and those going across the continental United States are the prevailing westerlies. The prevailing westerlies generally push air mass from west to east. Maritime polar air masses from the Pacific Ocean are blown onto the west coast, bringing heavy rain or snow. Continental polar air masses from central Canada, the United States, between the Rocky Mountains and the Great Lakes, blow cold, dry air masses which affect the weather in central and eastern United States. Now, as huge masses of air move across the land and the oceans, they bump into each other, but they do not easily mix. When two air masses with different temperatures and densities collide, it's kind of like trying to mix oil and vinegar in a salad dressing. Just like oil and vinegar, the less dense oil will flow on top of the more dense vinegar. The area where the air masses meet and do not mix becomes a front. And when air masses meet at a front, the collision often causes storms and changeable weather. There are four types of fronts: cold fronts, warm fronts, stationary fronts, and occluded fronts. The kind of front that develops depends on the characteristics of the air masses and how they are moving. Cold fronts move quickly and they can cause abrupt weather changes, including violent thunderstorms. After a cold front passes through an area, cool, dry air moves in, often bringing clear skies and cooler temperatures. This occurs because cold air is dense and tends to sink, and when it rapidly moves in, the warm air mass is pushed up and the denser cold air slides under. So then what is causing these thunderstorms or large precipitation? Well, remember that warm air holds moisture, and it holds more moisture than cold air. So when warm air is pushed up into the atmosphere and cools down, then the water vapor in the air condenses into droplets of liquid water. And if there is a lot of water vapor in that warm air, heavy rain may fall. Now, clouds and storms and rain also accompany many warm fronts. At a warm front, moving warm air mass collides with a slowly moving cold air mass. Again, because cold air is more dense than warm air, the warm air will move over that cold air. If the warm air is humid, showers and light rain will fall along with the front, and weather may be rainy or foggy for several days. Sometimes stationary fronts occur, and this is when cold and warm air masses meet, but neither one has enough force to move the other. If a stationary front remains stalled over an area, it may bring many days of clouds and precipitation. Now, the most complex weather situation occurs at an occluded front, which is where warm air mass is caught between two cooler air masses. The dense cool air masses will move underneath the less dense warm air and push it upward. The two cooler air masses meet in the middle and mix, making the ground cooler, and then since the warm air masses are now cut off or it's occluded from the ground, its water vapor condenses, and this weather may turn cloudy and rainy and even snowy. Some weather events can cause major damage, injuries, and even death. Events like these are called severe weather or storms. These are violent disturbances in the atmosphere. Storms involve sudden changes in air temperature, which in turn cause rapid air movements. These events include thunderstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and even blizzards. The most common are thunderstorms, also known as electrical storms because of the lightning it produces. Thunderstorms have warm temperature, moisture, and rising air, which may be supplied by a low pressure system. Strong updrafts and downdrafts within a thunderstorm cause millions of tiny ice crystals inside to rise and sink, crashing into each other. This creates positively and negatively charged particles in the cloud, and the differences in these charges of particles between the cloud and the charges of particles on the ground eventually creates electricity, which is seen as a bolt of lightning. Now, lightning can move from cloud to cloud, or cloud to ground, or even ground to cloud, and it can heat the nearby air to more than 27,000 degrees Celsius. As air molecules near the bolt rapidly expand when it's heated and then quickly contract, they create the sound identified as thunder. Tornadoes are also very frightening and a destructive type of storm because it is a rapidly whirling funnel-shaped cloud that reaches down from a storm cloud and touches Earth's surface. Tornadoes are usually brief but can be very deadly because they can create wind speeds that approach up to 450 kilometers per hour. Tornadoes occur more often in the United States than any other country, having about 800 tornadoes in the United States every year. Hurricanes are tropical storms, and they have winds of 119 kilometers per hour or higher, and usually reach about 600 kilometers across. In different parts of the world, they are called different things. In the Western Pacific Ocean, hurricanes are referred to as typhoons. A hurricane begins over warm water as a low pressure area or tropical disturbance. If this tropical disturbance grows in size and strength, it becomes a tropical storm, and then this will eventually become a hurricane. Hurricanes last longer than any other storms, and sometimes they usually last a week or more. Winter can also bring violent storms as well. Ice storms can down power lines and tree branches, and they also make driving conditions very dangerous. A blizzard is a violent winter storm characterized by freezing temperatures, strong winds, and blowing snow. Blizzards create situations that have low visibility and freezing temperatures that can cause frostbite and hypothermia. Thanks to the U.S. National Weather Service, we are able to receive watch and warnings during severe weather events, which allow people to get to safety until the severe weather passes. Let's take a break here, and it's time for you to show what you know.